The fiercest wars are fought in silence, and the strongest men don't make a sound. While the masses idolize alpha males beating their chests in a noisy display of dominance, there's another type of man, one who isn't seeking attention, yet always ends up shouldering the burden. He doesn't crave the spotlight, because he's the force that keeps it burning. Here's the catch: psychology reveals that men who operate outside the usual power structures often bear the heaviest emotional and mental loads, alone. In other words, Sigma males aren't just quiet, they're fighting battles behind the scenes that most people never notice. And the cruel reality? No recognition, no praise, just constant demands, endless assumptions, and enough inner chaos to haunt a seasoned therapist. This isn't about being aloof or mysterious. It's the harsh truth of being the man who rejects the game, only to be handed the cleanup. So if you believe Sigma males have it easy just because they walk a different path, think again. You're about to enter a battlefield where the wounds are hidden, but the burden is crushing. Number 1. Rooted in principles while the world chases trends like addicts. Sigma males have no appetite for trends, not as a rebellious flex, but as a deep refusal to dilute their identity for what's momentarily hot. While others jump from one viral idea to the next like caffeinated goldfish, Sigma males quietly ask, but does this even matter? That question alone separates them from the herd. They're grounded in principles, not popularity, and because of that, they're often mistaken for being out of touch. In reality, they're just in touch with things most people forgot how to value. They watch the world obsess over fast fame, disposable opinions, and curated identities that shift with every algorithm update. It's exhausting to witness, but even more exhausting to resist when society keeps rewarding the noise. The pressure isn't just external, it's internal, too. While they'd never betray their core just to be accepted, there's a subtle weight that comes with constantly being the outlier. That weight is the unspoken question: am I being noble, or just invisible? That's the battlefield no one sees. Sigma males stay rooted because they know chasing relevance is the fastest way to lose substance. But the cost? Being ignored in rooms obsessed with flash. Being overlooked in conversations where depth isn't trending. Being misunderstood as distant, boring, or behind. It's not easy watching mediocrity get likes, shares, and promotions, even when it's hollow. They know the game is rigged to reward visibility over value. And yet, they still refuse to play. That refusal is its own kind of strength, but it's also lonely. Because standing still in a world sprinting toward nothing means everyone thinks you're not moving. Sigma males don't lack ambition, they just refuse to sell their soul for it. They'd rather master one thing deeply than be a shallow expert in a dozen things that won't matter in a year. The struggle isn't whether to follow the trend, that's already decided. The real fight? Staying committed to timeless truths in a culture that treats depth like a liability. That's the unseen battle they fight, holding the line while everyone else runs in circles. Number 2. Decision-making paralysis, weighing consequences 5 layers deep. Sigma males don't just make decisions, they dissect them. Their minds go into overdrive, breaking down every possible outcome, ripple effect, and future consequence like a strategist planning for a war that hasn't even started. It's not overthinking, it's ultra-calculated thinking. While most people decide based on impulse, convenience, or fleeting emotions, Sigma males treat choices like they're laying the foundation for something permanent. Even the smallest decision, what to say, whether to speak up, whether to walk away, goes through a mental filter that calculates risk, timing, outcome, and integrity all at once. This makes them incredibly sharp, but it also drags them into mental quicksand. They'll mentally live out 5 versions of the same situation just to ensure they're not missing anything. They see problems from every angle, but the downside? They carry the burden of every outcome. While others shrug and say, well, it is what it is, the Sigma mind doesn't let things slide. They don't like backtracking or cleaning up messes, so they make damn sure they don't create one in the first place. The pressure is intense because every choice becomes a responsibility they take personally. The irony? From the outside, people think Sigma males make smooth, confident decisions effortlessly. They see the end product, a clean, calculated move, and assume it was easy. What they don't see is the internal warfare, the sleepless nights, the what-ifs, the self-imposed interrogations. It's not fear, it's precision. Sigma males don't just want to be right, they want to be aligned with their values, the consequences, and the long-term picture. But the mental toll is real. Constant analysis turns into emotional fatigue. They rarely get to go with the flow. Even when they want to be spontaneous, something inside hits pause and says, hold up, let's run the data first. That inner voice is both a gift and a curse. It saves them from reckless mistakes but robs them of peace. The decision eventually gets made, yes, but the weight it came with? That stays long after everyone else has moved on. Number 3, the unseen burden of being the blueprint. Sigma males never ask to be the standard, yet that's exactly what they become. While others shout for attention, they operate in silence, no shortcuts, no gimmicks, just raw competence, unshakable principles, and results that speak louder than self-promotion ever could. They don't chase admiration, which is precisely why they earn it. But here's the twisted part: the world takes their essence, their originality, their entire way of being, and mass-produces it without giving them credit. They live with the weight of being silently imitated. Their ideas, their approach to life, their mental discipline, others copy these like trends they've discovered. The Sigma male watches as the world repackages his authenticity into marketable nonsense. The confidence he built through solitude becomes a pose for influencers. His independence becomes a brand slogan. His calm presence becomes a vibe. And through it all, no one credits him. This invisibility burns, not because Sigma males need applause, but because being overlooked while others profit from their authenticity is a bizarre form of theft. They're not flashy, so they're forgotten. They don't self-promote, so they're ignored. Yet they're the silent force pushing culture forward, through their work ethic, clarity of thought, or quiet leadership. It's maddening to watch mediocrity celebrated while their excellence goes unnoticed. But they don't complain. They keep showing up, doing the work, solving problems, and walking their path with discipline. They're not in it for praise, they're in it for the principle, for the personal satisfaction of doing things right, even if no one ever claps. That's the paradox of being the Sigma. The world needs your example but will rarely acknowledge your existence. So they carry the burden of being the real thing in a world of copies, knowing they'll never be thanked, spotlighted, or understood. But they keep going anyway. Because the reward isn't recognition. The reward is knowing they didn't fake a damn thing. Number 4, competence as armor, but screaming inside for someone to say, "You don't have to handle it alone." Sigma males are masters of capability. They walk into chaos and fix things without flinching. They're the ones people call when things fall apart, not because they brag about being dependable, but because they are. That quiet strength, that consistent composure, becomes their signature, and eventually, their prison. People stop checking in on them. They stop asking if they're okay. They assume the Sigma male is immune to struggle simply because he never shows it. And that's the trap. Competence turns into camouflage. They could be falling apart inside, completely drained, overwhelmed, emotionally bleeding, and still, no one would notice. Why? Because they carry themselves too well. Their pain is polished. Their stress is silent. Their exhaustion is invisible. And here's the brutal part: they've trained the world not to worry about them. They've built a reputation around being the one who never breaks, and now, they're stuck in that role even when it's killing them. Deep down, they crave just one person to cut through the noise and say, "You don't have to do this alone." But that moment rarely, if ever, comes. Not because people are cruel, but because they genuinely believe the Sigma male doesn't need support. The more competent he is, the less likely anyone is to offer him a hand. That silence becomes deafening. It's not pride stopping him from asking for help, it's programming. He was wired to handle it, to hold the line, to solve the problem. Admitting he needs help feels like breaking his own code. So he suffers in stealth. He keeps showing up, keeps solving things for everyone else, while his own internal world goes unchecked. People don't realize, strength isn't an endless resource. Even the most self-sufficient man has limits. But Sigma males don't announce when they're nearing the edge. They just keep walking with more weight on their back, pretending it's not heavy, because if they drop it, even for a second, they're afraid no one else will pick it up. And in most cases, they're right. Number 5, the guilt of emotional discipline. Sigma males aren't emotionally dead, they're emotionally disciplined. But society doesn't see the difference. They're pressured daily to perform. Be more open. More outwardly sensitive. More reactive. And when they don't comply with these emotional theatrics, people assume they feel nothing at all. That assumption couldn't be more wrong. Inside, they feel everything, just without the dramatics. Their emotional world is intense but private. They've learned, directly or indirectly, that spilling emotions everywhere doesn't fix problems, it creates messes. So they internalize, process, and carry the weight silently. But the world doesn't reward internal processing. It rewards emotional visibility. If people can't see your pain, they assume it's not real. And that's where the guilt creeps in. A Sigma male might care deeply, be hurting, even be breaking. But because he's not performing his pain, he's labeled disconnected, or worse, indifferent. The twisted burden? He must manage emotions with military-grade restraint. Carry the guilt of not grieving loudly enough, not comforting theatrically enough, not reacting on cue. It's emotional compression, a pressure cooker with no release valve. Eventually, it burns. But he doesn't explode. He just tightens his grip on himself one more notch. Not because he wants to, because he has to. He's tired of being misunderstood. People assuming he doesn't care just because he doesn't perform caring their way. No matter how much he explains. My silence isn't coldness. My distance isn't detachment. It never lands. People want emotions they can see. He gives emotions that are real, but hidden. So he fights the guilt daily. Guilt of being labeled emotionally absent. Guilt of failing others simply by refusing to fake reactions. But deep down, he knows. His emotions are his, not a public spectacle. If that makes him seem cold, so be it. He'd rather be misunderstood than inauthentic. Number 6, everyone's mirror, no one's reflection. Sigma males walk through life misunderstood, not because they're mysterious by design, but because people project their own stories onto them. Their calm presence, lack of neediness, and refusal to overshare create a blank screen. And people? They fill in the gaps. Based on silence, posture, or a single glance, entire narratives are built. He's arrogant. He's cold. He's full of himself. All because he didn't react the way someone wanted. The truth? Sigma males aren't trying to be anything but real. But people don't like real, they like familiar, predictable roles. And when the Sigma doesn't fit those roles, the goofy friend, the emotional sponge, the eager people pleaser, they don't adjust their expectations. They blame him. He becomes the villain in someone else's movie. The rude guy who didn't smile enough. The distant one who thinks he's better. It's not that he's doing anything wrong, he's just not performing the character others wrote for him in their heads. That's the invisible war. Constantly navigating reactions to a version of yourself you didn't build. People take offense at things he never said, accuse him of motives he never had, and punish him for not playing along with fantasies he never signed up for. And through it all, he keeps his cool, because exploding or over-explaining would only confirm their bias. The emotional toll is heavy. It's like walking through a world of funhouse mirrors, surrounded by distorted reflections of who people want him to be. And because Sigma males rarely correct misjudgments, the misunderstandings pile up. Labeled before he's known. Assumed before he's understood. Judged before he's even finished speaking. But here's the kicker. The same people who misread him often try to emulate him later. Once their insecurity fades, they admire his calm, his boundaries, his control. It's poetic and frustrating. He becomes everyone's mirror, helping them see what they lack, but he's never seen as himself. Not a reflection. Not a projection. Just the raw, unfiltered truth. That's the war he fights quietly. Seen everywhere, recognized nowhere. Number 7, they live with the invisible tax of emotional minimalism. Sigma males don't overshare, overreact, or over-explain, because they don't need to. Their emotional responses are intentional, measured, and often understated. They've mastered the art of not wasting energy on theatrics, but in a world addicted to emotional overexposure, that kind of precision is treated like a crime. If they don't display sadness the right way, people assume they're cold. If they don't jump with excitement, they're called detached. If they don't talk about their feelings in high definition, society treats them like emotionally unavailable statues. That's the invisible tax they pay, constantly being misunderstood for having emotional boundaries. They're forced to clarify things that don't need clarification, to explain that just because they're calm doesn't mean they don't care, or to justify why they're not posting their entire inner world on social media. It's exhausting and unfair because no one forces the loud, emotionally chaotic types to explain themselves. Yet, the Sigma male has to prove he feels, just because he doesn't perform it. It's not that he lacks depth, he just refuses to cheapen it. When he speaks from the heart, it's intentional, raw, and fully formed. There's no fluff, no drama, no fishing for pity. But since his emotions don't come with an exclamation mark or a sad violin soundtrack, people assume he doesn't have any. The irony is painful. The more control he has, the less people believe he's human. And make no mistake, this emotional minimalism costs him. People walk away feeling unsure, unseen, or even unloved, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't wrap his care in fireworks. The world wants emotional noise, he offers emotional signal. He filters the nonsense and only speaks when it matters. But that restraint gets misread as silence, and silence gets misjudged as absence. So he ends up constantly justifying his inner world to people who will never operate on his wavelength. That's the tax, being misunderstood, misread, and mislabeled for being emotionally mature. And even though he's tired of explaining, he keeps doing it, hoping that maybe, just maybe, someone will finally understand that feeling everything deeply and showing it selectively isn't a flaw. It's emotional mastery. Number 8, leading in silence, blamed for not performing. Sigma males carry a presence that naturally draws people in, not because they demand attention, but because they don't. They shift a room's energy without trying. No speeches. No theatrics. No forced charisma. Just quiet confidence, razor-sharp observation, and a steady focus that makes others instinctively look to them when chaos strikes. The problem? People mistake this stillness for a leadership style they expect but never receive. They want the Sigma male to rally the troops, give motivational speeches, cheerlead, but that's never been his way. He leads by being solid, not loud. This disconnect becomes his daily burden. Expected to lead, but silently. Expected to hold everything together, while others panic, complain, or fade. When things go well, the crowd applauds itself. When things go wrong, they blame the quiet one, because silence is an easy target. He never asked to be followed. But people follow anyway, then blame him when they don't like where they end up. The hardest part? Sigma males don't even want to lead most of the time. Not out of fear, but because leadership by default, without consent, is suffocating. He didn't sign up to be your moral compass, your anchor, your crisis manager. He just is. His calm gets mistaken for control. Independence gets read as authority. Refusal to micromanage gets twisted into apathy. Now he's trapped. The backbone and the scapegoat. Holding everyone up without recognition. Absorbing blame when the weight becomes too much. He doesn't need praise, but he does resent the double standard. People want the benefits of his leadership but refuse to respect the form it takes. And that form? Quiet. Grounded. Strategic. It doesn't entertain, but it works. The world still doesn't get it. It's addicted to noise and performance. It forgets. The strongest leaders often say the least. The one preventing collapse isn't on stage, but in the background, calculating, holding firm, never flinching. Sigma males don't lead with noise. They lead with conviction. And they carry the cost of that conviction in silence. Number 9, they fight the silent war of not being able to switch off. Sigma males don't get a mental off switch. While most people can tune out, binge-watch something mindless, or scroll social media to numb their brains, Sigmas are trapped in non-stop inner commentary. Their minds are like relentless editors, replaying every conversation, dissecting every word, tone, and gesture with surgical precision. What was said? What was left unsaid? What did that mean? Did I come off wrong? Could I have handled that better? The questions never stop, and neither does the mental energy spent on answering them. This isn't just occasional overthinking, it's a constant state of hyper-awareness that never pauses. While others enjoy downtime, Sigmas endure what feels like a 24/7 audit of their social scripts and decisions. Their brains don't get a break because they don't trust autopilot. Every interaction is a puzzle to solve, a strategy to refine, or a lesson to extract. They process internally, deeply, and endlessly, even when they desperately want peace. The irony? This relentless mental churn often goes completely unseen. To outsiders, the Sigma male might look calm, collected, even bored. But beneath that still surface is a raging battlefield of thoughts. It's exhausting, but it's the price of their independence and precision. They can't relax fully because their mind never stops working, constantly prepping, adjusting, and protecting against mistakes or misunderstandings. No one handed them this overdrive, they built it out of necessity. But it's a double-edged sword. That silent war means their brain never truly rests, draining their energy in a way that's invisible but deeply felt. They fight to keep this internal dialogue useful, not paralyzing, but the struggle is real and relentless. So next time you see a Sigma male seeming detached or distant, know this, his mind isn't checked out. It's dialed in 100%, running a non-stop replay that nobody else hears. The battlefield is invisible, but the weight is very, very real. Number 10, they resist validation, even when it would ease their struggle, because needing it feels like betrayal. Sigma males are allergic to validation, not because they don't need it, but because needing it feels like a betrayal of who they are. They've built themselves on a foundation of inner standards, private victories, and self-auditing. Every move they make is rooted in what they believe is right, not what will get them applause. So when people offer praise, it creates an uncomfortable moment. Part of them knows they've earned it, but another part recoils, thinking, if I enjoy this too much, does that mean I've become one of them, someone who needs approval to feel whole? It's not pride, it's principle. Sigma males are obsessed with staying untouched by external influence. They've seen too many people lose themselves chasing validation like it's oxygen, so over time, they taught themselves to run in the opposite direction. Compliments get brushed off, recognition gets downplayed. They keep a poker face, not because they don't appreciate it, but because showing that they do might give away too much power. And to a Sigma male, power over himself is sacred. But there's a dark edge to this. That constant resistance to validation becomes a private punishment. They do hard things, win silent battles, and exceed expectations, then reject the reward, not because it's fake, but because accepting it would make them feel weak. The result? A life filled with uncelebrated wins, a quiet graveyard of moments they should have been proud of but weren't allowed to be. Not by others, by themselves. People around them notice. They get confused. Why won't he take the compliment? Why does he always shrug it off? It's not arrogance, it's fear of dependency. Sigma males fear that if they start soaking up validation, they'll lose their edge. They'll become like everyone else, doing things for praise instead of doing them because they believe in them. Even in moments of burnout or self-doubt, they resist asking for acknowledgement because, to them, needing that comfort is dangerous. It risks cracking the fortress they've built around their identity. So they smile politely, nod, and move on, while inside, a tiny voice whispers, "You earned that, but don't get used to it." That's the lonely paradox of their independence, being starved of recognition, not because it isn't offered, but because they won't let themselves taste it. Number 11, they absorb everyone's emotional chaos but have nowhere to offload their own. Sigma males are emotional anchors, people instinctively unload on them because of their calm, stable presence. They absorb everyone's chaos, offering strength and support, but no one stops to ask how they are doing. Vulnerability feels like weakness to them, so they bottle everything up. The result? A silent burden that grows heavier with time. While others find relief, the Sigma carries emotional weight alone, never offloading, never seen. Everyone assumes they're fine because they don't break, but inside, the pressure builds. And since they fear being seen as less dependable, they stay silent, until the fortress starts to crack in private. Number 12, they have to constantly self-audit to stay authentic in a world addicted to performance. Sigma males live in constant tension, staying real in a world that rewards fake. While most people chase validation through curated personas, Sigmas strive for authenticity, carefully choosing words and actions to avoid being misunderstood. They walk a fine line. Too quiet, they're seen as cold; too open, they're judged. It's not about insecurity, it's a survival skill. Every social misstep can cost them trust or opportunity, so they monitor everything. The danger? Losing themselves just to fit in. Sigma males fiercely protect who they are, even when it means feeling like outsiders. Their fight isn't for attention, it's to stay true in a world that keeps asking them to wear a mask. Final thoughts. Sigma males walk a path few can grasp, a quiet battlefield where every win is uncelebrated, every burden hidden, and every moment of peace hard-earned. Their solitude isn't for comfort, but a necessity forged by a world that demands more than it gives. Beneath their composed surface lies a restless mind, a burdened heart, and a soul committed to authenticity in a world addicted to masks. Their strength doesn't shine in the spotlight, it builds unseen foundations and carries others without asking for recognition. Independence comes at a cost, draining their energy, testing their patience, and often isolating them. Yet, they remain unwavering, not for ego, but because real strength means staying grounded in chaos and silent under pressure. They're misunderstood as aloof, when in truth, they're just too real to fake it. Others lean on their stillness, not knowing it weighs them down. And still, they carry on, quiet, resilient, and fiercely authentic. To know a Sigma male is to see the cost of silent strength. He doesn't just walk alone, he carries a world most people never see. That's not just strength. That's power in its purest form. If this struck a chord with you, or gave you a glimpse into the silent struggles Sigma males endure, don't keep it to yourself. Tap that subscribe button to stay connected to raw, unfiltered insights you won't get anywhere else. Smash the like button if you value real talk. Drop a comment to share your perspective or story, your voice matters here. And above all, pass this on to someone who needs to understand the invisible weight carried by the few who walk alone.